Braxcast time once again. This is the 44th episode of the Braxcast, and we got a good bit of stuff to talk about. It's going to be a bit of a smorgasbord, but before I get into the good and exciting stuff, I do want to talk about something I've talked about before. On the 29th episode of the Braxcast, I mentioned Jordan Crowe's GiveSendGo fundraiser for her unfortunate fight with breast cancer, and she still is unfortunately dealing or battling with breast cancer, and the community is rallying behind her very thankfully with this Crow for a Cause t-shirt. So all the net proceeds from the sale of this shirt is going to go towards her medical expenses. And of course, I'll have the link to buy this shirt in the description below, along with her GiveSendGo, if you want to just send some money her way and you don't necessarily need the shirt. I absolutely love this design. It's very hopeful. Always love that nice symbolism there because it's, very much part of keeping people's hopes and morale up, rather than just, it's not just having the financial backing, for medical expenses, all these things. There's a lot of morale that goes when you're dealing with hard times like that. Cancer certainly is, and I think she's got a genetic, cause for breast cancer that makes it definitely a very difficult situation for her to be in. But we've got a nice community here at the Rippaverse fandom, and hopefully going to rally behind by buying a shirt and donating to her GiveSendGo. Like I said, links to both of those will be in the description. So if you're interested in either one, then you're free to send some money her way with those links below. But I definitely wanted to mention that it's a nice shirt. It's definitely a good cause. Very unfortunate that she's dealing with this, but it's definitely highlights the very fortunate fandom that we have, that we rally behind, that we're very positive, and that we can do stuff like this. So I absolutely love something like this. It's a great design, and like I said, it just is a very hopeful thing, which is what you need when you're going through cancer. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. Like I said, I've mentioned it before, but with that t-shirt being launched and the net proceeds, wanted to mention it again. But we're going to go, like I said, into the comic book related news, and not necessarily that it's a bit depressing when we talk about cancer. But I want to talk about comic books because this is the Braxcast, and we're going to talk about the Rippaverse Trinity Omnibus again. And the hardcover is going to have 1,000 copies. That's what the print is being limited to. So they might print like 1,150 or something like that for damages and stuff like that. But 1,000, that's the number that they're settling on. It's pretty nice. So be sure to get in on the hardcover if that's what you're eyeing. I believe it's around $80. The soft cover, the paperback, is $45. It's $120 for both of them. That's what I went for. And of course, this is going to be 310 pages. Or a little more than that, collecting Item 1, Alpha Core 1, and Yaira number 1, with Item number 1 being remastered and having new coloring by Sebastian Chang, who is a new series colorist. Just to remind you all, that is what is the case with the Rippaverse Trinity Omnibus. So it's a really cool thing. It's about $46,000, a little bit over 600 books sold, if I'm getting my numbers correctly. That's what it was when I last checked, and if I have those numbers, if those numbers off the top of my head are correct, sitting at just under $50,000. This is a really cool thing. Definitely am looking forward to diving into that new Item number 1, that remastered, and of course seeing a preview of Sebastian Chang's work on Item especially is going to really build up the hype for Item number 3, because we know who the colorist for Item number 3 is in Sebastian Chang. So we're going to be really excited to see that. Also, it's really nice to know that the hardcover is limited to 1,000 copies. So if you're interested in that hardcover and you want to get that as a cool collectible, because it is the first hardcover book the Rippaverse is doing, then you're going to want to get in on that sooner rather than later. But I think I can't say anything more without restating what I've been going through. But we're going to go into this really interesting thing. So we've got Iconic Comics and the Rippaverse collaborating on a nice little Christmas card. Of course, this is indicative, or not indicative, this is inspired from this scene. So this, if you can see, is the Christmas truce of 1914, and this is what inspired this holiday Christmas card between Iconic Comics and the Rippaverse. Now, Iconic Comics, their flagship series is Common America, but they do a bunch of other stuff as well. Black Ops and Soul Finder is what comes to mind, and that is they call it the Commonality, but it's the Common America universe. Those three, I guess, books, if you want to say, those three books, those three franchises, Common America, Black Ops, and Soul Finder, exist in the same universe, and they had a crossover, Common America, Black Ops, X Soul Finder. That was a pretty good read. I'm really behind on Iconic Comics' Commonality, but it's really good. They've got a huge audience in Japan because they really lean into that manga style, especially of Common America. It really leans into that manga inspiration. I mean, Kimiko is a Japanese character, so she very much embodies a lot of what appeals to that audience, which is why they've had like fan comics at Comic-Cat. They've had like merchandise deals with Japanese manufacturers, and they have all of their content translated into Japanese as well. So Common America has got this really big audience in Japan, and they're also really passionate. I'd say some of the Japanese fans are more passionate than the American fans, which is a really cool thing to see. And this is a really cool collaboration between the Rippaverse and Iconic Comics. So basically, any order you order from either company, you'll get a nice little Christmas card. I don't have one on me, but the stock they use to print the Iconic Comic ones are really nice. And of course, this is a really nice picture. You got Isom there, you got Gooding, you've got, I believe it looks like, I think Carly's there. You might have Common Victory. It's been a while since I've read through the Common America book, Common America book, so my knowledge of the characters is escaping me, but I believe that's Bloodroof. Absolutely love this style. Douglas Ernst, who is the writer for Soul Finder, was hyping this up a lot for good reason. Eric was talking about this as well, and I definitely wanted to mention this as well because it's the Christmas season. It's very feel good, and this is a really feel good thing. And now with the Rippaverse and Iconic Comics having this collaboration and doing stuff like this, it opens the door for some fans to think, could there be some crossover events? With Common America, they're willing to do crossovers. There was Common America X Tomorrow Girl. I have that book. I need to read it. So many comics I need to read. So I need to get on my case about all the comic books I haven't read. But there is a Common America X Tomorrow Girl. So Common America, or I'd say Iconic Comics, is willing to cross over with other franchises. That's something that's definitely within their purview. So I think Iconic Comics would be willing to do it with their characters. Now with the Rippaverse, Rippa's stated that that's not something they really intend to do. So I don't think you'll see like an Isom X Common America book anytime soon. But could there be something like that down the line? I think it's a possibility. And I think, those two companies collaborating on whether it's a new IP or taking some characters from Common America and having them appear in a book that is published by Rippaverse, maybe. I don't know, but there definitely is a strong working relationship between Rippaverse and Iconic Comics, and I think it would be a waste if they did just stuff like this. Not to say that this Christmas card isn't cool, and having like code holiday on both the sites to get like 5% off your order isn't a really cool thing for the fans. It totally is, but I think having this good of a working relationship between the creatives at Iconic Comics and Rippaverse and using it to not make any comic books for the fans would be a missed opportunity. So hopefully, in 2025, as the release schedule for Rippaverse gets even more into gear and there's more opportunities for stuff, for these collaborations to happen in comic book form, that's where it begins to happen, because I really would love to see a collaboration of a comic book between the creatives at Iconic Comics and the Rippaverse, because they're very talented, very skilled people for both of these, both of these independent comic book companies. It'd be really nice to see them collaborate on something like that together, because, like I've said, Common America is a really fantastic franchise. They know who they're appealing to. They do it really well, which is why the Japanese fan base is as strong and thriving as it is, along with the Western fan base as well, because they really lean into that manga style while maintaining some pretty cool aspects of the American comic book, say ethos. Is the best word, but everything they do is colored, and I think it's so very compatible with people who enjoy classic superhero comics while still having this manga feel. So it's really nice. And like I said, I think it would be a bit of a missed opportunity if those guys at Iconic Comics didn't collaborate with the Rippaverse on a comic book. Now, do I think it's going to be like a canon book in the Rippaverse? Probably not, but to have something, some like one shot that's explicitly this isn't canon, but we're doing this for the fans because I think it would be cool, or because, they think it would be cool. I think that's something that definitely could happen. It's something I definitely want to happen, and it's all the more likely when stuff like this happens and there's a really good working relationship between the two companies. But with that, we're going to go not talk about that collaboration anymore, with how cool it is. We want to talk about this new piece of art from Zalen, What Kills Must Die. I haven't seen this, if I've shown this off, but figure with Marcos Martin talking about being the colorist for this project, Zalen, What Kills Must Die. Of course, we know that Chuck Dixon is the writer. We also know that Fabio Jansen is going to be inking the book, with Joe Bennett doing the pencil work. So it's very much like Horseman, because Horseman had that same art team with Joe Bennett doing the pencil work and Fabio Jansen being the inker. And I believe it was Jay Brown doing the colors for Horseman, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I know Marcos Martin is coloring Zalen, and then Joe Bennett is doing the pencil work, and Fabio Jansen is doing the inking, as a very similar situation that we had in Horseman. And Horseman, of course, had fantastic art. If you want to watch my review for Horseman, welcome to Florist Park. More than welcome to, but this is a really cool piece of art. Again, there's just this real cosmic aspect with Zalen, or I guess, the whole cosmic idea of Zalen just being able to explore way outside of Florist Park, off planet, and introducing a lot of really cool things. And I think this is more what Zalen's book is going to be, because we haven't seen characters like this, and of course you've got all this stellar stuff, this looks like a planet exploding. You've got probably supernovas, and it seems like Zalen can breathe in space like a Viltrumite, or like Superman can. And it's going to be pretty interesting to see those sorts of things. It's going to be interesting to see what gets established and how it gets tied in. And I doubt that Chuck Dixon's intention is to tie everything in together. It's going to introduce a lot of moving parts that we'll have to see how they pan out. It's going to be a little bit disappointing if that is the case, and we don't get like a Dokuman or like a Bloodroof encounter or something like that, especially with their ability to travel through realms. I think that's a really interesting thing. But seeing, finding out what characters like this are is going to be a pretty interesting thing. And of course, knowing who Zalen is and what makes him important and what makes him noteworthy in the Rippaverse, that's focused basically exclusively on Florist Park for the first 6 books, Isom 1 and 2, Alpha Core, Yaira, and Horseman. Basically all centering on Florist Park. Of course, some stuff happens outside of Florist Park. We've got Shadow Valley, we've got that scene in the Dresser. In Horseman, we've got, of course, Yaira's little Scandinavian escapades as a section in Yaira #1, but having a book that focuses extremely out of the realm of Florist Park. And if it ended with Zalen being on Florist Park for whatever reason, and that's one of the aliens that Brian Solari fights, as we know that Brian Solari has fought aliens knowing in his Dokuman card, that would be extremely interesting. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, especially since I think Zalen is with the heroes in the hero collage for the Rippaverse calendar, means that Zalen isn't someone who's going to just wantonly destroy. He has to have a reason, because these guys look, they definitely don't look friendly. So that's the thing that I'm not thinking. That's the thing that we can speculate on, is if Zalen is one of the aliens that Brian Solari has been established to fight in his Dokuman card. I'm going to be doubtful on that, and I'm doubtful that the first Zalen book is going to really tie in with the other stuff, I think it's going to establish a really cool and interesting story and be set up for those tie-ins to happen down the line. Whether it's in an ongoing series for Zalen or a mini series for Zalen, or it happens in like an Alpha Core 3 or 4, or a Yaira 3 or 4, or even Yaira number 2. Probably not Yaira number 2. I think there's more stuff to develop in Yaira number 2, given the ending of Yaira number 2, spoilers for that, with her meeting Neptune and all of that. There's a lot more the Saskas want to do with Yaira number 2 than try and tie in Zalen with that. So I think it's definitely going to be Zalen's story getting introduced and established and being set up for either a mini or ongoing series for Zalen. I think a mini series would probably be really good. Have one for Horseman, have one for Zalen, and then focus on having those 4 flagship series in Bloodroof number 1, Isom, Alpha Core, and Yaira. And I think that's good to have enough ongoing series. But of course, the goal is to get 12 books, or maybe even more than 12 books out in 2025. So having more than 4 ongoing series might make sense in that context. But, you know, you're straddling the line of having too many ongoing series and saturating the fans a little bit too much. So I think some characters would work really well having miniseries. I've talked about Gooding ad nauseum should have 2 more books associated with him to have like a really nice, solid miniseries that establishes his origin and how he ends up establishing Gooding services in Shadow Valley in the way that it's depicted in Isom number 2. I think having that be a free, book series for Gooding, and then having him appear as a side character in, like Isom and Alpha Core Yaira is what would make the most amount of sense. For me personally, I think a lot of characters fall into that purview, and just, giving every character that's slightly interesting an ongoing series, like I said, I think that's going to saturate things a little bit too much. And I think Zalen is an interesting enough of character that he should get at least, 3 issues of, around 96 pages. And I think that would set up a really good character in Zalen that could then be used in other ongoing series like Alpha Core, Yaira, Bloodroof, etc. So that's my little Zalen speculation. Of course, we're not going to find out more until the collection launches, until we get the book in our hands. That's going to happen in 2025, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So this next year, 2025, when we get all these books in our hands and we get to read and speculate and really find out more about the Rippaverse, is going to be really exciting. But I don't have anything else to say on that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, check out Jordan Crowe's, the Crow for the Cause shirt, or GiveSendGo. She really needs the support. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Braxcast. Joker is out.
Thank you for tuning in to the Braxcast. Be sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to keep up with the Rippaverse.